Hello everyone, welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston Subdivision, an N-scale inspired HO layout. My name is Daryl Kruse, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 12 of season 2021. In this episode, we're going to be looking at more work on the staging yard, specifically the throat at the west end of the yard. This is Riverdale, or Ogden, Utah, and was able to put in the rest of the track this past week. As you can see, I do have all the track put in. I also added lots of more equipment, and as you can see, I also put the fascia on the inside there. That was pretty important if I ever wanted to use that number one track there, because it's like right on the edge. So hopefully protect from anything falling off. And then as you can see, I also have the transition from code 100 to code 83. So the black track is code 100. Here you get a good look at the fascia. There will be skirting underneath the fascia, some black skirting. So you kind of get an idea how the room look is going to be there. Everything's kind of white. But I did put together some turnouts, and got to work on much of the throat there. Also was able to put down some roadbed on the trackage here leading to Morgan. This is the first part of the modeled section, and I also put in some filling there for the crossovers. I'm using Flex Bed by Hobby Innovations, and you can see it curving. I'll talk a little bit more about installing this roadbed. Here's the end of the bench work. So didn't do a whole lot here on the bench work for the modeled section, except for putting down some roadbed. My hope is that this week I'm going to actually get trains running out into the modeled section here onto the bench work. So definitely looking forward to that. So that's pretty much the progress that I made. Before we get to how it all went together, though, I did get some more equipment. This is the Atlas Trinity reefers. Let's see if we can get it focused in there. There you go. So this is by Atlas. And I wasn't able to pre-order these because I found out about them late. So when I tried to pre-order these items a while back with Lombard Hobbies, it was already past the deadline for pre-ordering. But they were had some extra inventory that they had ordered above the pre-orders, and so I was able to catch some of those from Lombard Hobbies. I really appreciate them working with me. So let's take a look at these. They have the high numbers there, which is to keep the cars operational even after they've been tagged by graffiti artists. So here, take a look at the detail. These are really nice cars. They have a lot of molded on detail, but a lot of the detail you're looking at is freestanding. It's added on detail, and the printing is very, very good. I really like these cars. I think the air conditioner, or I should say the refrigerator, and the fuel tank and so forth here on the end is a cool feature of these cars. I had these in N-scale, sold most of them. So I'm glad to get some here in HO. Sorry about the focus going wacko there. I think it's all the white in the picture, but this is what they look like on the layout. I got some ARMN, which are the Union Pacific ones, and then some CEFX ones also. I got mostly the ARMN. One of them is ARNM. I think that was maybe a mistake made on one car. So I was able to get that car also. Alright, so putting in the roadbed, this was a pretty cool experience. Again, this is the a flex bed with 2 X's by Hobby Innovations. And I just put this down with white glue, and it worked very, very well. I did this video right after putting it down. If you can see, I can still slide it around a little bit. After I did this video, I kind of went through again and kind of straightened out some areas. It's mostly straight, but there are a couple areas that I went back and kind of readjusted so that it was perfectly straight. But you see it lines up pretty good to the staging yard. And it just went down. I didn't have to pin it or anything. It just, you know, sat down real nice. When it came to the curve, I did put some spikes in it to hold it in place. But then it didn't take long for the glue to dry, and then I removed the spikes. And then, of course, the crossover, didn't want the tracks crossing over from one main to the other just to be free floating, so I used some spackling from the hardware store to kind of patch that in. This is that stuff that's pink when wet and then white when it's dry, and so I just put that in. This is sandable stuff, and so you can go back and smooth it, but I'm not too worried about it. It's going to be covered with ballast anyway, so but I wanted something in there. I didn't want to have to fill that whole gap with ballast, so I put some spackling in there. And so here it looks like, this is what it looks like with it dry. You can see it's white now. I'm hoping to put these 4 turnouts in this next week and then get the main line actually running, have trains running out onto the main line from the staging yard. These are number 10 crossover turnouts. These are fast tracks. While I was waiting for the house to be built, I built about 60 fast track turnouts, so it's nice just to be able to put them in, not have to build them each time. So the way I do these turnouts, you have to, of course, put ties down somehow, and one way to do it is to go to fasttracks.com and buy what they call quick sticks, which is basically a laser wood type of deal where it's all the ties are ready to go and you can just slap it down. It's kind of expensive though, so I'm going here a cheap route, and I think it looks just as good if not better than the quick sticks also, since it is actual wood ties. But anyway, I print out their templates, and the turnouts are so big that the template has to go over 3 sheets of paper. But I just use white glue just to go through and set down the turnouts on the template. And you print these out, you know, actual size, and they come out to match perfectly with the turnouts. Here I'm doing, they put both the right hand and left hand on 1 sheet of paper, so I'm just going ahead and doing both at the same time. It takes me about 15 minutes to do 1 turnout, and so I just decided I'm going to sit down at the dining room table and did all 10 turnouts for the throat, and it took me about 2 hours to do all that. So you see them all laid out, and they're almost ready to go. Doesn't take long for these to dry. The paper and the wood both love to be glued by Elmer's glue. So here they are, perfectly dry. Now, of course, need to kind of trim them, and I use this tin snips, whatever that thing is. I've had this for a long time. It's pretty cool shear. It cuts paper as well as the wood here. So I just kind of go through and I just slip it off. And when I put the ties down, I set them down on the side that curves, because it's hard to cut on that So when you have, you know, 3 in a row that are the same, and then the next one's a little bit longer, then the next one's a little bit longer, easier to cut this along the straight edge. You just go right down. You can see the tie underneath it on the paper, kind of line it up, and just cut straight through. And it works out real nice. And this shears will also cut paper, which I think is pretty cool. And then on the other side, you just cut the paper alongside. And as the paper gets wet from the glue, it doesn't really expand or contract or anything. It stays pretty much the same size, so it works out pretty good when you're installing it. And the darker ties are on the paper are where the PC ties are. Alright, after I cut it out, then I need to, of course, put it on the layout. Here I see I have the 3 pieces for a turnout. I have one already installed there on the left-hand side. So we'll just go quickly and show how this is done. Just put some glue on the back side of the paper. I usually put you know, a good amount of glue on there. Not because it needs a lot of glue, but it just, as I'm putting it in, it allows me to move the ties around so that it's a perfect fit. So I put the tie down, and when I have the tie down before, at the very beginning when I start, if you could look closely, you can see I have little pencil marks where the PC ties are. So when I put the ties down, I can, you know, do the initial lineup with the little pencil marks. And then I also have the center line there for the turnout. So I can kind of line it up with that to begin with, and then I set the turnout down on, and then I kind of do whatever additional alignment so that it's basically perfect. This last little one here at the end is probably the most crucial one to get right, because it has the 2 ties that that are on both sides of the throw bar. So you want to make sure that that one is exactly where it's supposed to go, so it doesn't you know, hinder the throw of the switch. And then when it's all dry too, I also go back, you can kind of see on the one that's already installed, I go back and I scrape the paper off so that there's no paper underneath it either. And then I tack it down with some spikes, and then I just add some glue, some white glue. It looks kind of globby now, but when it dries, it shrinks down and it's invisible, so you can't see it at all. But it just kind of holds the rails in place. You see my soldering job. I'm not that great at soldering these in, but I'm more concerned about there being a joint that will hold. Yeah, it looks like it's lined up perfectly. I have 4 of them in now. So I try to make sure everything is lined up, you know, nice and straight, so that we don't have any issues. Plus, it just looks better when the cars roll through the straight. So at this point, I have 2, 4, 6, 7. Got 2 more to go. You see how nice and smoothly these operate. These fast track turnouts are awesome. There's no wheel drop at the frog at all. You can tell by the way how quiet it is on the foam too, by the way. And then it goes on the staging yard. It's much louder. Anyway, there's no wheel drop. Extremely smooth as it goes through. Really nice. So I'm very happy with these turnouts. They cost about $7 for materials. If you add in the cost of the jigs and so forth, it comes out. I'm doing like 95, maybe close to 100 turnouts. So it comes out to maybe, you know, $8 or so, maybe $9 turnout. So that's the progress I've made so far. Trains will be running on the main line for next week's update. Thank you so much for watching. May you always have somebody pushing you through your travels and through your life. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.